Right now, outside the eastern mouth of the Persian Gulf, hundreds of vessels are anchored in open water. They are sitting completely motionless, carrying cargo that was loaded before anyone knew the corridor ahead would close. The economic fallout of this waiting game is happening today, exactly as this is filmed. With these massive tankers functioning as floating hostages, the price of oil has already crossed $126 a barrel, the highest it has been in 4 years. This map shows the exact geographic problem. The entire crisis comes down to the Strait of Hormuz, which is only 33 kilometers across at its narrowest point. On a clear day, you can literally see Iran from Oman with the naked eye. You could drive that distance in 20 minutes. Yet that tiny sliver of water possesses the physical capacity to dictate the terms of the modern global economy. To prove that vulnerability, Iran has escalated regional tensions, launching drone strikes that have hit the largest liquefied natural gas terminal on Earth in Qatar, and briefly shutting down Dubai's airport by striking a perimeter fuel tank. The current crisis demonstrates that the global economy is physically tethered to these specific, narrow coordinates. When 33 kilometers of water become functionally closed, the impact is felt at every fuel pump and airport on the planet. While the maritime blockade in Hormuz is highly visible and immediately felt, there is a much quieter, invisible hostage situation occurring to the north. Look at this map of the Caspian Sea. Despite the name, geologists classify it as a lake. It is the largest enclosed body of water on Earth, fed by over 130 rivers that ultimately drain nowhere. The seabed itself is the prize. Trapped beneath that water is approximately 40 billion barrels of oil, alongside 600 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. But accessing that wealth requires navigating a legal maze. For 22 years, the 5 bordering nations argued over how to divide it. They signed a framework in 2018 that resolved the surface rights, but left the highly lucrative seabed rights productively ambiguous. Physical bottlenecks like Hormuz and legal landlocks like the Caspian are entirely related. Whether by military force or ambiguous treaties, human attempts to control geography set the absolute limits of global energy flow. Back down on Hormuz Island, there is a fortress built from red coral stone. The Portuguese constructed it in 1515 after seizing the island to command the trade routes moving between India, Persia, and Arabia. The Portuguese strategic calculation was incredibly straightforward. If you physically control the threshold, everything moving through it becomes negotiable. 5 centuries later, you will find modern aircraft carrier strike groups and amphibious ships navigating the exact same waters. Empires routinely swap out in this region. The Portuguese, the Persians, the British, and now the Americans have all stood at this specific gate and made the exact same calculation. The sensors have improved, and the tools of enforcement evolved from coral stone walls to military steel. But the unyielding geography forces every newcomer into the identical geopolitical strategy. But consider how a nation behaves when geography denies them that leverage and traps them instead. This map highlights the Galkanish gas field, locked entirely inside Turkmenistan. It is the second largest natural gas field in the world, giving the country roughly 265 trillion cubic feet of proven reserves. Because Russia has historically priced northern pipeline routes punitively, Turkmenistan built the Central Asia-China pipeline. They now export 40 billion cubic meters of gas a year to a single customer through a single route. That single customer dependency is an extreme geopolitical weakness. To mask it, the country's autocratic leaders, like the late Saparmurat Niyazov, constructed grand illusions of absolute power. The capital city of Ashgabat is an enforced aesthetic of control. It holds the Guinness World Record for the highest density of white marble buildings on Earth, 543 of them at the last official count. The streets are pristine, mostly because they are completely empty. Niyazov built a 12-meter-tall gold statue of himself, mounted on a motorized arch designed to rotate continuously so he always faced the sun. The result is a strange geopolitical paradox. While the state constructs an image of marble-clad permanence and absolute internal control, its entire economy remains physically locked into a single pipeline and a single customer. Yet beneath the high-stakes military standoffs and the autocratic megacities, there is a micro-reality moving completely independent of state architecture. On Qeshm Island, sitting directly inside the world's most contested shipping lane, local craftsmen are building massive wooden cargo ships by hand. They use techniques passed from master to apprentice, holding on to the last knowledge of how to build these vessels without machines. In Turkmenistan, far away from rigid state pipeline contracts signed behind closed doors, traders sell hand-knotted wool carpets. It is a bottom-up cultural output, featuring a dense crimson pattern that hasn't changed in 1,000 years, persisting through every government that has ever administered the territory. Back at the Strait of Hormuz in Qeshm, Oman, fishermen load their catch onto traditional dhow boats. They navigate the water exactly as they always have, seemingly indifferent to the global arguments over the harbor. The deep geological time of this region dwarfs the political arguments. The limestone cliffs rising above the water contain ancient coral and marine life preserved from a time before these mountains even existed. Human infrastructures are temporary. The coral forts decay, aircraft carriers eventually sail home, and marble cities require constant polishing. The modern global economy will always remain at the total mercy of ancient, unyielding physical gates that were here long before us, and these gates will outlast us all.